Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. Yet another crucial video for you guys and gals. We got to break this stuff down. We're not just going to have blind faith into these markets. We're not just going to say gold and silver are bullish just because we think so. No, there has to be reasoning. There has to be numbers. There has to be proof in the pudding. And when things aren't looking that bullish, we still have to look at them. We can't sweep it under the rug. We can't just say, we got to look at what's happening. The more prepared we are, the more realistic, the better. Looking at both sides of the coin, pun intended, is going to give us an advantage because we can still use weaknesses or negative territory to our advantage. A lot of people don't look at it that way. You got to look at it realistically. Take the emotional, the emotional investment out of it, and try to benefit off of everything. Now, silver prices are going to get demolished. There's a catalyst for some low prices, and we're going to dive into what is happening here. Now, silver not stimulated, 7th of October. So this is talking about really what pushed the price down in the last couple of days, and it's speculation. President Trump tweeting something that can throw people into a frenzy. And that's the most dangerous word in gold and silver, because gold and silver shouldn't be based off of speculation. There's real value. Gold and silver have intrinsic value, so speculation should not exist in this world. With Bitcoin, sure, even with stock markets a little bit, but something that solely goes off of supply and demand should not be affected by speculation. So I have instructed my representatives to stop negotiating until after the election, when immediately after I win, we will pass a major stimulus bill that focuses on hardworking Americans and small business. So tweeted President Trump just before 8 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. And the price of silver, which was already down 40 cents, fell more than $1. Some of the drop occurred after the cutoff, and that shows 60 cents. So a huge cutoff. And even the guy even said in this article, it dropped off even more after this graph. So look at that. The basis is falling with each drop in the price. It rose with one price blip, but not a few others. This is selling of futures by guys with leverage, not the selling of metal. Indeed, the lack of basis rise with when the price is from $24.20 to $24.40, around 12:30, and again at 1800, suggests buyers of metal are active today. At the end of the day, the basis is down about 1%. Silver is noticeably less abundant to the market at $23.40 than it was at $24.40. So Tuesday's tweet storm. Speaking of stimulus, let's look at what the president proposed in tweets later in the evening, seemingly reversing himself. Number one, $25 billion to continue subsidize for airline payrolls. Number two, $135 billion to continue subsidies for small business payrolls. Number three, $1,200 free money handout for everyone. So in economics, stimulus refers to attempts to use monetary or fiscal policy to stimulate the economy. Stimulus can also refer to monetary policies like lowering interest rates and quantitative easing. So stimulus is something to boost the economy financially, kind of giving everyone a safety net or a little crutch to benefit from. Now, the scary part about this is there's consequences, right? We can do this all day, and that's great for the people, but at what cost? What's the catch? Well, I know what the catch is, and it's not looking good, especially as we're $27 trillion in debt, and especially since the USD, the US dollar, which is the world reserve currency, it has been exposed from this pandemic, and countries are already opting out of using the USD as the reserve currency, and you know that a dollar is only based off of faith. A dollar is only based off of how much people think it's worth, and if people start to think it's not worth much, then it literally won't be worth much. We disagree with one word. It says in economics. No, this is not economics. This is politics, right? It is a promise of something which cannot be delivered. Yet, so long as voters believe in magic, they will keep stimulus, and we are reminded of the old Native American saying, you do not make the blanket longer by cutting off a strip of cloth at the bottom and sewing it at the top. This was just said supposedly about daylight savings time, but it would be apropos to stimulus as well, because the government does not have any resources itself. Whatever it gives an airline employee, it must first take from someone else. And that's what I was talking about. What's the consequences at what cost? And then there are enormous losses due to the government itself. Looting Peter to pay Pal is not zero sum, it is negative sum. Anyone who has studied economics knows this. This is not abstract graduate level theory here. An Econ 101 student proposing a stimulus policy in paper should get a big fat F. Just keep borrowing, right? It would be simpler to see if the government taxed Peter to stimulate Paul. However, the government has long passed the point where it can get more tax revenues from the economy. So with every increase in its spending, it turns to borrowing. You can see how it's like we're trying to get ourselves out of debt by replacing it with more debt. It's like trying to pay off a credit card with another credit card. It's going to catch up to itself. Got that? Peter's savings are consumed by stimulant Paul, but Peter feels like he's making money. It's a perspective. God bless deficit spending. Everyone loves it. Peter, as we see, is happy. Paul, of course, experiences that unique warm bliss, which brings a grin to his face. Economists say it stimulates not just Paul, but all the Johns in the economy too. Wall Street loves it. Republicans, Democrats, pretty much everyone. And the economists, well, have not a justification, but a rationalization. This stimulus gives people money to spend, and when they do, that adds the GDP. They can claim that the economy is growing. How do we define growth? Let that sink in. If the government takes the savings from the prudent and the solvent to dole it out to those who promptly consume it, this is called growth. Clearly, we have much more work to do to show people that whatever the word for this is, it's definitely not growth. It is also not honest borrowing. The government is not financing new production. It's merely enabling consumption, which means it has neither the means or intent to repay. That's counterfeit borrowing. Monetary fraud, which is our definition of inflation. And why? Why all this stimulus? It is to compensate for the consequences of lockdown. Keyword, consequences. Compensation is deliberately doing the wrong thing, allegedly to fix something else that you cannot or will not correct properly, like letting the air out 3 tires if you have a flat, or doling out of money if you lock down the economy, causing reduction in airline revenues of 90% and a reduction of revenues to many New York City restaurants of 100%. Lockdown is unquestioned. Therefore, they want to give free money to all the people whose careers and businesses were harmed. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? Definitely not. There's going to be costs to pay. The damage from lockdown is real, and many will not recover from it. But doling out the people's savings will not undo it. It will just further harm those who are still hanging on. Now, what to do? And this is the meat and potatoes, right? What should you do about this? Now that we know what the problem is, now we know what's hurting the stocks. Now we know what's hurting silver prices, from the speculation to the actual financing and the way that we are going about in this very corrupt system. You know, what do? So every day we get asked the same questions. Why are people buying gold and silver? Why are they seeking a return on their metal and becoming our clients? Why are the bullion, refining, and mining businesses happy to pay gold interest to lease and borrow gold to grow their businesses? It is because 2 things are happening at the same time. One, the return of the 10-year Treasury bond has been driven down well under 1%. And 2, the risk has been driven up to the moon. The debt was at merely $10.6 trillion when President Obama got inaugurated. Now it weighs over $27 trillion. But now, with all of these acronym stimulus programs like CARES Act, the debt is skyrocketing much faster than ever before. Savers don't love the near zero interest rates, nor the increasingly obvious potential of a debt crisis, so they buy gold as a way to opt out and seek a return as a smart way to hold gold. It's a hedge against inflation. It's like putting your money in a time capsule. As the dollar decreases over time, gold and silver increase over time. So you're just transferring your money, your fiat money, into something that actually is money or holds its value. Because once upon a time, gold and silver was money. Money is something that cannot be created nor destroyed. The dollar can definitely be created and destroyed. Gold and silver comes from a supernova in outer space. We can't make this stuff. All we can do is dig it up, especially with this pandemic, less workers, less staff, transportation issues. You could see how production is going to be extremely hard, especially on the silver forefront, since it's intertwined in the industries and technology to such a high degree. But also the demand of those technologies is also increasing. So low supply, high demand shoots the price up. So everything's pointing towards very bullish prices. If we can go on and on and on about all the different reasonings, not that we only covered a small fraction. There's so many other reasons as well, but just to look at it from this perspective, from the stimulus point of view, things are going to get ugly. They're going to get much worse before they get any better. It's going to take years and years. And if we look at this chart back here, in the last, let's go to the 1 year, or no, let's go to all. So in the last 2 decades, from 2002 to 2020, there's only been really two stints, or one stint was the 2011, right, 2008 credit crisis, which shot up 3 years later to $50 silver, and then you could see we're looking like we're entering the second phase of that. Now, in 1980, silver was also $50, but this is a 20-year, and if we look at the patterns, it's looking like around every 20 years something big happens, and it usually starts from recession/depression. This is the third time, the third wave, and it's going to be much, much, much more extreme, much more dramatic, because not only is all the finance, the financial corruption happening, and the credit crisis, and the stimulus, and the trillions of dollars in debt, $1 trillion stimulus packages, but there's also a global pandemic happening, as well as the 2020 presidential election, one of the most controversial elections ever. Gold and silver, the safe haven metal, so controversy, uncertainty in the economy is only going to push the prices even higher. I've named probably 50 different things and 50 different reasons in this video why gold and silver are going to get pushed higher. So yes, silver might get demolished in the short term, but that really doesn't matter. When are you planning on selling? Are you going to sell tomorrow, next week, next year, when are you going to sell? If you're not planning on selling for 10, 15, 20 years like me, I'm 28 years old. I'm not planning on selling for probably 20, 25 years. So why would I care about the everyday prices? It would just drive me insane. The only reason I would care is if I'm looking to buy, but still, if it's up a couple cents or down a couple cents one day, and I bought it while it was 20 cents higher than the previous day, who cares? What's 20 cents going to do at the end of the day when we realize what silver's true value is, what its true worth is? That's going to be nothing. That's irrelevant to look at, in my opinion. Some people do like that. They look at the stats. They will. It's like the people that look for the gas stations that's 5 cents cheaper than somewhere else, but they'll drive like 15 miles to go get the 5 cent cheaper gas, but they just drove all that way paying more than the 5 cents they would get discount from the gas. It's crazy, right? You can't look at from an investing standpoint. I get it, but sometimes you have to be rational. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think stimulus is a good or bad thing? Do you think that we can afford it? I mean, there is the saying, just because you can buy something doesn't mean you can afford to buy it. They might be able to afford the stimulus package, or they might be able to give out the stimulus packages, but can they afford to do that? Highly unlikely, but I do get it, and people do need to be kept afloat because this pandemic is very tragic. Now, looking at what side you're from, or if you're someone extremely poor or someone extremely rich, it shouldn't be about that. It shouldn't be about you. It shouldn't be about how much money you made. You have to think about the bigger picture, the overall picture, and what's best for the majority. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Put it in the comments what you thought about this video. I'd love to hear where you think gold and silver is headed, especially after the election. What is the election going to do to precious metals? Do you think it's going to be the icing on the cake, or do you think it could put things in shambles as the economy tries to have its next uprise? And what do you think where silver's gonna play in that? Because even if the economy starts doing better, silver could still benefit from that, since it is an industrial metal. Gold is solely monetary. Silver's industrial and monetary. So where would silver be, ideally be, even if the economy does start to recover? I'd love to hear all these things. I mean, there's a lot happening. There's so many different directions this could go, so many angles you could take it. And that's why I like asking you guys these questions, because I love to hear your insight on this stuff. You obviously know mine. So I'm going to wrap this video up here. Make sure to smash the like button. If you thought this video was educational, informational, or at least entertaining, make sure to smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Also, video around noon. Every day, this is my new upload schedule. Video around noon. And then another video around 8, 9 p.m. In that general area. Somewhere between 9 and 10, 11 in the morning, there's going to be a video. And then from like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, around that time in the evening, there'll be the second video. 2 videos a day, so stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon.